However, a lot of these teams, I think, like to keep everything, tight to their chest. They don't really want to put a lot of information out there. If you look at a lot of the contracts throughout Major League Baseball with front office guys and managers now, they're not really announcing, the years. They're just saying, okay, so-and-so has been extended. Very, very few numbers are coming out, in terms of that. But they do have Don Mattingly through contract up into 2016 here. But when it comes down to it, I think, they're still kind of weighing their options. I do think that they are talking, and trying to see if there's a way that they can get Joe Madden in there. But, it would be interesting to see if, he did make that switch and go and hook up with a guy like Seal. And like I said, the biggest thing here now is that you have a lot of these players coming up and they're finally, ready to start producing. And you're going to see the floodgates open here at some point. They're going to have a lot of decisions to make. You might see a few of these prospects get moved for some pitching. I think that's going to be a major focus of Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer over the offseason here, is acquiring some pitching, getting some other guys that might be, longer-term pieces rather than just sign-in trades, during the offseason here. So, I think it's a good spot for Joe. Obviously, the Cubs are willing to spend the money. They went after Joe Girardi, last offseason. They also brought in Dave Martinez, who ended up being Joe Madden's bench coach the last several years. But he came in for an interview, right before they brought in Ricky Renteria. But that's a really guy that's really tight with Joe Madden, and so not only wouldn't be surprised to see Dave Martinez come with him, but also Dave spent several years in Chicago with the Cubs, with the White Sox, and kind of knowing what the front office is thinking now, with his interviews, that gives Joe some really good perspective, and his agent says there's 4 or 5 teams interested. But, that Cubs fit, that's something I'm thinking for him.
I owe a good portion of my life to Dave Martinez, who was on my World Series team in King Griffey Jr. Baseball. He was on my team for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 1998. I can't thank him enough for his contributions to, winning that World Series as my right fielder.
I'm telling you, man, that was Davey Martinez. That's the one thing I always kind of referred to him as Dave, and everybody seems to call him Davey. For a little bit, it was kind of confusing. I'm like, man, who's this Davey Martinez guy? And you kind of look into it a little bit, and you figure out, that's regular Dave, man. I call him Dave.
Looking at, the Cubs, one thing that bothers me, this year they had, they didn't welcome Sosa back. Who
welcomed Sosa back?
The Cubs didn't. They had
no, they didn't. No, he wasn't a part of it. That was the big shakeup, is that he wasn't invited.
I know. Why didn't they welcome him back? I mean, that guy was, since from 97, 98 till 2003, 4. That guy was he was Chicago after Jordan retired. What's the deal? Why won't they welcome him back? And what do you think it'll take for him to be welcomed back, other than not forking his back?
I mean, pretty much everybody that you've seen that's been in baseball, between Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds is kind of getting his fill back now in with the team here. Honestly, man, I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that he didn't come clean and then all of a sudden pretended like he didn't speak English. I think that really, upset quite a few people. And he just, I don't know, there's just something where he just left a lot of bad blood, even though there's a lot of people, there's been a lot of turnover, since he's left. I just think that the team, really right now, and with the organization trying to do, their whole reshaping of, the whole club, top to bottom, from every aspect of the team, I think that's just something they really don't want to involve themselves with. And he's a guy where, maybe I'm sure he'll bring back, maybe some older fans, but I'm just not sure that they feel that he's going to be that big of a positive boost for them, rather than just kind of keeping him out of the picture for right now. Maybe down the line they'll bring him back, and I probably expect them to. I just think they're kind of waiting it out a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, you won't bring Sosa back, but you'll bring Manny Ramirez as a Double-A coach / player.
Hey, he's admitted it, and he's a guy. He's actually was able to help out. I think it was more beneficial.
Yeah, okay. He admitted it eventually, but his initial response to when he was suspended, it was like, yeah, I shouldn't be touched for using steroids. It was not a genuine response to being caught.
No, I'm with you on that. But just the fact, I think the biggest thing for the management and the reason why they brought him in. Sure, they figure, all right, well, maybe if he plays well, we'll be able to trade him, bring him up for a little bit, send him on his way to a playoff contender. But I think the biggest thing was the fact that they have so many, young players, a lot of Spanish-speaking ball players, and a lot of guys with, very similar reputations, at least in terms of, their abilities. Kind of having somebody around it, like him around, knowing all he knows about the game and kind of helping them out is, a big part of what they wanted. And that's exactly what he offered them. And so, obviously they weren't able to, to move him, but I think they like keeping him on. He's been great with Javi Baez and Jorge Soler, and has been, a pretty good influence. And he's a guy where, fun-loving guy, love him or hate him. He's a big goofball, but I think he's been able to kind of keep everybody even keel and kind of keep a lot of these guys on target and focused.
With Steve Nash, his career is over with this nerve injury that may or may not have been caused by picking up luggage at the airport. How, compared to Sosa's sneezing and throwing out his back, what is your thought? What is the most ridiculous sports injury, not only to end a career, but to, end a season, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah. No, those are definitely up there. I mean, Steve Nash, he's just so brittle at this point. But, yeah, the Sammy Sosa, that was obviously a lot of big injury stories, throughout the history of the Cubs between Sosa with the sneezing incident and, kind of seeing everything that happened, with Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood. Kind of one of the ones that probably sticks out more so in my memory, at least with in recent vintage, at least with the NBA terms, is Carlos Boozer tripping over his bag at his house and hurting himself, and he was out for a big chunk of the beginning of the season when he first came over, and then ends up filing for divorce, and you kind of figure out what a little bit more comes out about the story, and so. No, that's definitely got to be a part of it, and I mean, who can forget Tiger Woods? I mean, I'm not sure if he suffered really any injuries when he got in that car accident, but that's probably got to be an interesting way to kind of end your season.
Yeah, it amazes me. Like, I have I'll have aches and pains after. I don't think alcohol is brought up enough in these situations. Of when these athletes get a mysterious sports injury, like it's like a back or a neck injury. I don't think alcohol is brought up enough in the factoring of these injuries, because many times when I injure myself, alcohol is involved, and it's not just me, but I'd like to think I'm a pretty decent athlete. These guys are great athletes. There's got to be alcohol involved when they're getting these injuries, right? And
one would think. I always like to to remind people, at least when they're talking about professional athletes, about who's a good role model, this and that. The one thing, you got to be a good role model for your kids. You can't. They're obviously going to look up to some of these professional athletes, but you got to keep it in perspective for them that they're people too. And a lot of these guys make a lot of mistakes, and they between the egos and some of the bad habits and things like that go on out there, you really shouldn't be pointing any fingers to those guys as being good role models. And they're going to drink. They're young. They get money. You would think a lot of them would have some drivers or different things like that. And I know the players' union, at least in the NFL, provides free rides through the players' union that they'll come pick you up if need be. But guys would rather not do that, even though supposedly it's it's all anonymous. it's still one of those things where they're maybe afraid to do it. And so between you mix all those things in there, and it's you've got to think, booze probably, factors into some of it at least.
Yeah, I mean, especially when Rajon Rondo slips and falls in the shower. I mean, I've slipped in the shower or something like that. I've never broken my wrist in the shower or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I nearly had a Paul George-like broken ankle one time when I was running to the bathroom. I mean, stuff happens. It's just, it's surprising that, with all the information we have these days, that, there's the initial report of the injury, how it happened, the initial speculation on, okay, the athlete's lying, and then it kind of dies out from there. There was more information back in the day, it seems like, than there is now. It's weird.
No, I think, especially when it comes down to stuff that happens at their house, and I'm pretty sure, I haven't really, read up on it too much, but from what I've understood the Steve Nash thing happened at his house, and it seems like a lot of these incidents happen at your house. And so I guess when you're kind of out of the public eye, you can make up whatever, excuse you want. I mean, just imagine what some of the doctors, at the ER have had what stories they've heard, about how something got stuck somewhere, or, how they ended up busting their face or something like that. A lot of that stuff I think is probably made up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like the thing on Family Guy with Quagmire. Like, whenever he gets this thing stuck in something, it's like, okay. The doctor's always like, oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, it's one of the, if you injured your back doing something stupid, what would your excuse be if you were a professional athlete?
Okay, I'm an honest guy, sir, Mr. Bob Sullivan. I would say exactly how it happened. I don't put myself in sticky situations.
Okay, so say you're John Smoltz's age when he's with the Red Sox, and you go on a roller coaster at Six Flags and your neck somehow buckles. How do you explain that to the team? Do you say the roller coaster, injured you, or are you one of those guys that would say, I
slept funny.
You slept funny. Okay. You'd say you slept funny, so you wouldn't lie.
No, absolutely not. No, I was just helping you out there. No, I was telling them. I say, hey, it's rickety old, especially if you come out here to Gurney and you go to the Six Flags out here. They got a couple wooden roller coasters there still. Those things aren't all that smooth. And so, I would just tell them straight like it is, and I would tell them, hey, you know what? I'm going to borrow your lawyers, and we're going to go out there, and we're going to sue these
guys. Yeah, so you're
the good old American way. Sue away.
You'd rather go the lawsuit way than the lying way.
You got it, man. I got all that gear. If I'm a pro pitcher, man. Oh, if I'm a pro pitcher, I get all that guaranteed money. I'm going to go out there and get a little bit more if I can, right? All for charity, of course.
All right, Johnny. Well, before I let you go, do you want to tell everybody where we can find you on Twitter, Instagram, the internets, all that good stuff?
Absolutely. After the Giants won here, going up 3-2, you can find me on I'm on WinningCityStars.com right now. You can also find me soon to be on CubsClock.com. Also, you can find me at Twitter and also pretty much anywhere else with the home base here of Maloris, Malioris. And just in case, I don't know if you haven't heard, but Oscar Taveras of the St. Louis Cardinals, top prospect, did pass away today, did get in a car accident. Very few details out right now, but that did happen in the Dominican Republic. And at 22 years old, young prospect now gone.
Yeah, that is a very sad story. We pass our condolences on to Oscar Taveras and his family and everybody with the Cardinals. We'll be right back here on the Bob Sullivan Show here on LateNightSportsRadio.com.
Thank you. Be good.